Hi everyone, welcome back. I appreciate you joining me today. I've got another story lined up to share. So let's dive in. My name's Maxwell and my entire life shifted the night my wife went out to dinner with my boss, even though I'd asked her not to. That very evening I packed a bag and vanished. But let me explain how everything unfolded. My wife, Chelsea, and I were complete opposites. In personality, I've always been quiet, focused and reserved while she's outgoing, lively, and usually the center of attention. Before our wedding she had a strong career in the corporate world, but she gave that up right before we married to launch her own event planning company. And truthfully, she was brilliant at it. Her clients relied on her completely. Weddings, corporate functions, charity dinners, you name it. She could pull it off flawlessly. Well, she built her business. I worked in cybersecurity, usually behind the scenes, for different companies. Even though we were so different, we balanced each other well. Her social skills offset my quiet nature, and we always backed each other's dreams. We had been a couple for 5 years and married for 2. Until then, everything seemed strong, like nothing could shake us. But soon that illusion started to crack. I had just landed a new position after being sought out by a small but prestigious firm. The owner ran things strictly. He was known for being tough, very direct, and not the type to tolerate mistakes. But he also valued talent and treated capable staff with respect. The pay was higher, the benefits were excellent, so I accepted. I understood the standards would be high, but I trusted my skills completely. I was ready for the challenge. What I didn't realize was that this new role would end up destroying my marriage. Not long after I started, my car began giving me trouble. One afternoon I dropped it off for repairs and was told it would take longer than expected, so I phoned Chelsea. Pick me up from work. He said yes, right away. When she arrived, I was still finishing up, so she waited in my office. About 30 minutes later, my boss came. Normally he's all business, rarely smiles, never wastes time with chatter. But when his eyes landed on Chelsea, his entire demeanor shifted. Suddenly he was light-hearted, almost charming. Introduced her as my wife, and he immediately started asking about her work. He seemed very interested in her event business and even joked that maybe she should take charge of our company functions. We all laughed, and then he asked for her card, saying he might need her services one day. At the time it looked innocent, harmless even. Thinking back, that was the moment when things began to go wrong. Over the next few weeks I noticed small details, casual remarks from my boss about how beautiful my wife was or how fortunate I must be. First I brushed it aside. It was strange, but I assumed it was just his awkward humor. Then one day I couldn't find my phone at home and borrowed Chelsea's to call it. As I scrolled through her recent calls, something caught my eye. My boss's name appeared repeatedly. He had been calling her several times a week, mostly in the afternoons. That immediately set off alarms. Why would he be phoning her so often? I couldn't shake the feeling, so I checked their text. What I read stunned me. He was clearly flirting, showering her with compliments, asking about her day, slipping in little jokes meant to charm. Chelsea's responses didn't read as flirtatious, but they were friendly, even welcoming. She didn't seem bothered by the tension. Then I noticed something worse. When compliments didn't move him forward, he switched tactics, offering to help her business, promising to connect her with clients. It felt manipulative, like he was trying to buy her interest through favors. Their messages showed they'd already had lunch together. Then came the real shock. He started pushing for dinner. First Chelsea said no, telling him I wouldn't be okay with it. I thought she was drawing a line, but he persisted, saying I wouldn't mind. He even hinted, your husband has his own secrets, suggesting I was being unfaithful. It was clearly an attempt to plant doubt. Soon Chelsea was texting questions like, what do you mean? Things. That's when I realized she might be starting to believe him. Before I could read further, she caught me looking through her phone. From then on she was extra cautious, keeping it with her at all times. Took over a week before I got another chance. One weekend she left her phone unattended and I grabbed it. Quickly, I went straight to their chat. What I saw made my stomach drop. They weren't just texting lightly anymore. Boss had begun sending her pictures, shots of himself in a hotel room, wearing only his underwear. One even said, wish you were here. I felt like I'd been struck in the chest. Quietly I forwarded the photos to my own phone and saved screenshots of their exchanges just in case I needed evidence later. I didn't confront her immediately. I wanted to know my next move for certain. At night I barely slept. My thoughts kept racing through every possible outcome. Every word we'd exchanged, every clue I had ignored. Finally, the following evening I asked Chelsea to sit down. She came into the living room and I met her gaze directly. She blinked, acting as if she didn't understand what I meant. Told her I had seen the texts, the messages between her and my boss. There was no more hiding, no chance to deny what was already in front of me. Asked her to end all communication with him at once. Her reaction was layered. First, she looked shocked, like she hadn't expected me to bring it up so plainly. But that quickly shifted into defensiveness. She argued nothing was inappropriate in those talks. She swore she hadn't encouraged him and was only being courteous. Then she revealed the truth. She already had plans to meet him for dinner the next night. According to her, it was purely business. He wanted to discuss a major project and it could be huge for her career. I told her to cancel. She pushed back immediately, saying I was controlling, that I was blowing things out of proportion. Insisted it was professional and the real problem was my insecurity, not her choices. She made it clear she wasn't backing down just to calm me. Told her directly, if she went, she shouldn't expect to return to me. That was the line. No compromise. Chelsea didn't say a word. She walked straight to bed. Next day, she acted like we were having a silly fight. Tension filled the house, unspoken but heavy. That night, she stood in front of the mirror, sliding into a fitted black dress, the same one I had once admired. She turned toward me, smoothed the fabric and asked, "Do I look good?" I didn't respond. Couldn't. After everything we'd discussed, she was still going. She didn't wait for my answer. She grabbed her purse, gave herself one final glance in the mirror, and walked out the door without looking. The second the door clicked shut, felt crushed. I sat there trying to breathe, trying not to lose myself in spiraling thoughts. An hour or two later, my phone buzzed. A message from my boss. "You couldn't even stop her from coming to me tonight." Froze. That one line said, "Oh." He was mocking me, treating Chelsea as if she were some prize he had won, and me as the fool too weak to stop. It confirmed everything I'd already feared. He had been pushing boundaries for months, and now he was openly gloating. I couldn't stay in that house a second longer. It no longer felt like home. I stuffed clothes, my laptop, and a charger into a bag and left. I drove for nearly 2 hours. No music, no plan. I finally pulled into my parents' place. It was just past 1 in the morning when I knocked. My dad answered, confused. Mom appeared behind him. They didn't ask questions. I kept staring at my phone, waiting for a call or a message. Nothing. I lay on the old couch in the den, clutching my phone to my chest, hoping she'd realize what she had done. But the morning came with silence. No calls, no text. That's when I knew our marriage was done. The anger was gone, only clarity remained. And I made my choice. I would disappear. Living abroad had always been a hidden dream of mine. Something I'd never chased because of Chelsea and the life we planned. But now, with nothing tying me down, the road was clear. First, I logged into our shared savings account, the one we had been building to buy a house, and moved it all out. Then I accessed our investment funds. It wasn't millions, but it was enough. I liquidated everything. Market value no longer mattered. I transferred all the money to an international account I had quietly opened before. Wasn't coming back. That same morning I booked a one-way ticket to Mexico. But I had one last step to take. As the plane rolled down the runway, I opened a folder of screenshots, late-night chats, messages, and indecent photos my boss had sent Chelsea. I attached everything to a single email and blasted it into our company group chat. I didn't write a single word. The images told the story. Then I powered off my phone. When I landed and cleared customs, I turned it back on. Dozens of messages poured in. Texts from Chelsea, my boss, coworkers. The situation had exploded. The first message I opened was from my boss. Now he was panicking, desperate to contain the damage already beyond his control. Felt a strange mix of grief and grim satisfaction. Then I saw Chelsea's messages. First, she was confused, asking where I was and why I wasn't answering. Then her tone shifted. He tried guilt. Then came apologies, though none accepted blame. Didn't respond. A week went by before she finally sent the message that broke the silence. You were right. He used me. His wife found out and now he's blocked me. There was no event. Reading it didn't bring relief. Only confirmation. She had given up our life for a man who cast her aside the moment it cost him. Type short reply. Hurts that I was right, but I wish you the best. That was it. In Mexico I had nothing but time. Started freelancing online with my cybersecurity skills, building websites, patching vulnerabilities, consulting for small companies. It wasn't big money, but it was steady. I worked when I wanted, rested when I needed, and built a pace that finally brought me peace. I still thought of Chelsea sometimes. You can't erase years of life overnight. But once someone shows you how little they value you, how easily they betray, you can never unsee it. And while they may hope for forgiveness to make things easier, for them the truth is, there's no return. After that kind of break,